He Zheng froze. The words hadn't even settled, but his body locked. The wind twisting through the trees sharpened into something cold. 3 shapes solidified from the dark, spaced wide, moving without a sound, dead leaves cracked under their boots, dry as old bones. They didn't rush, they didn't speak. Even their breathing stayed, buried 3 iron blades still in their sheaths. Nero, ya, Ember, Caelan. The ring was closed. A jagged laugh ripped from Nero Liat, his whole frame bouncing off the ground. The 3 instructors, now you just wait to die. Joren's stomach dropped. He wasn't blind. He saw it all in one gut. Punch of a glance. The vice. Deans are still observing. You'd openly violate Valor Hall's code. The vice deans, Nero Liat's grin carved his face open, his voice grinding like bone splinters. By the time they get back, I doubt there'll even be corpses left to find. No one walks away today. Brother Kael, He Zheng's roar cut out, and before it faded, his body was a blur. He ran straight for the thickest part of the woods. Joren's eyes stretched wide. He Zheng. We called you a friend, and you. The curse died in his throat. Brush at the tree line thrashed, and He Zheng stumbled backward out of it, clothes snagged, face slick with sweat or worse. He righted himself with a cough, ahem. Pangy holds brotherhood too close to run. I was just checking the escape route. No one bought it. No one cared enough to call him on it. 3 killing intents had already sealed the clearing. Ember's mouth hooked sideways, like he'd spotted a bug that didn't have the sense to die. Run, fat boy. What stopped you? 3 instructors. He Zheng swiped his face and summoned a mask of grave sincerity. We've got no quarrel, no score to settle. Why not just? Too late. Nero Ya's voice dropped flat and cold, iron scraping ice. Today, nobody leaves. He Zheng's expression cracked. Half a beat later, he spat a curse. Fine. Pangy's sending you to hell with his own hands. The students huddled at the edge of the clearing shook like scraps of paper in a gale. They'd come to hide from beasts and walked straight into the hole of Yama. One of them spotted Ember and lunged for the lifeline. Instructor Ember, we'll side with you. This Kael's crossed heaven, and everyone else, take him down together. Voices piled on, shrill and clawing, yes. Whatever happens here, not a word slips from us. Fools, Kael's 2 syllables dropped cold. Before they hit the ground, boom. A wave of spiritual energy crushed outward like a hillside giving way. The students didn't scream, they chawed where they stood. Blood mist settled over the leaves, and the leaves drifted down slow. Nero Ya, Ember's roar cracked through the clearing. You. Tear out the roots. Nero Ya's face stayed blank, the last threads of spiritual light still fading from his fingers. Leave them, leave loose ends. If word of tonight's work spreads, you know the cost better than I do. Ember's jaw clamped shut. Nero Ya turned, and his eyes nailed into Kael. The hatred in them wept almost red. You little brute, in the end, you still die by my hand. Instructor Yu Hua, Joren's voice pulled tight, the fight not yet bled out of him. Do you grasp what this will cost you? A hand pressed onto his shoulder. Kael's hand, warm, solid, steady as stone. Brother Joren, they came prepared. Words are air now. Clever enough, Brand savored the moment, tossed out a few extra words like a hunter admiring cornered meat. 7th brother, eldest brother, Jiang, already offered you a road. You wouldn't take it. Can't blame eldest brother Jiang for being ruthless now. Kael frowned, his gaze still as stagnant water. Joren send you. Ember snorted, almost dead, and you're still asking questions. Kael shook his head, the corner of his mouth pulled not a smile, something sharper and less kind. So I overestimated Azure Cloud Pavilion's reach after all. Brand's face warped, the composure fracturing like porcelain under a fist, the ugliness underneath pushed through. What did you say? Azure Cloud Pavilion. Kael watched the cracks spread with a satisfaction that edged into cruelty. You'd slaughter your way in and still couldn't enter. They came to me. Just now, and I passed their trial. Brand's knuckles popped, lies. Predictable, Kael's gaze drifted over him like he was trash already swept aside. Your pitiful waste, too. Instructor Yu Hua. Brand's voice climbed into a tear. Do it. I want him dead. Dead? Kael's face emptied. He lifted the longsword slow, the blade catching half his face in a sliver of frozen moonlight. Kill me, you can try, but step ready to be killed back. He Zheng's face had scrunched nearly shut. Are we really fighting to the death? He Zheng. Joren's fists balled, his eyes threatening to split. Death's just death. At a moment like this, how can you still? Brother Joren. Kael turned, his gaze held steady, his voice iron. You leave. What? You're too weak to matter here. Staying means throwing your life away. He pulled the token of Murong Yan from his chest and pressed it into Joren's palm. The jade's lingering heat burned warmer than his fingers. Take this back to Manager Murong. If I don't return, tell him my request is simple. Commit the full Murong strength to treating Folly's illness, and keep her safe. He Zheng's eyes locked onto the token, hungry. I can do that. I'm fast, you know that. It's just Folly, right? Don't worry, Peng Yi will. Fatty, Kael cut him off. The words weren't loud. They landed like a blade. If you go, none of us three live through today. He Zheng's mouth shut, he knew. Two fighting side by side, everything staked, could maybe tear a gap for Joren. One less, and the math collapsed. Brother Kael, Joren's eyes burned red, his voice raw. I'm not leaving. How can I leave you here? Get out, the roar punched from Kael's chest like buried thunder. Joren froze mid-breath. He'd never seen Kael this enraged. I pulled your sorry life out of the fire. You owe me. You do what I say when I say it. This seventh prince garbage means nothing in front of me. Now move. Joren's throat worked. What came out was gravel. Fine, I get it. Leave. Nero ya looked like he just swallowed the world's dumbest joke. You imagine he's walking out. Are we three just stage decorations to you? Ember laughed, a dry, mocking sound, and brushed his sleeve. Two runt meridian opening cultivators. I'd crush them one-handed. Forget the chatter. Caelan waved dismissively, his eyes weighing the three of them with idle malice, the way you look at corpses already stiff. Ignorant cubs who can't see how wide the sky runs. We'll show them soon enough. That day, Kael spoke again, his voice suddenly quieter, as if remarking on weather. The two vice. Deans asked me how strong I really am. I told them I didn't know. The pressure around him began to climb, a beast stirring, eyes cracking open. Truth is, I really don't know. The words dropped, his aura locked onto the three of them, in the same breath. Something feral and mad surged up from the depths of his pupils. Today, I'll measure it against you. Boom! The cultivation inside him erupted. A brutal, crushing spiritual pressure exploded outward from his body. Air boomed. Dead branches and fallen leaves ripped from the ground in a ring of force, spinning outward, shredded to dust midair. Cracks spidered from his feet across the clearing floor, hissing wide, dust flattened for yards, grass and brush bent low. Blood red, his spiritual energy burned crimson, gushing from every pore like living flame, seething and roaring around him. A chill shot up Nero Ya's spine, Ember's and Caelan's too, skin pulled tight, hair stood, that killing intent pressed against their throats like invisible blades. Nero Ya's pupils shrank, energy condensation, no, his spiritual energy. Brand's voice strangled, the rest of the words lodged in his throat. Meridian opening seventh layer, yet the spiritual energy thrashing around Kael made the air itself groan. Off to the side, Ione's fingertips began to tremble. Kael moved, his left hand clamped onto Joren's shoulder, an iron vise. Fabric tore, muscle bunched. He channeled everything into the hurl. Joren ripped off his feet and launched. The displaced air blasting wide like a boulder had been thrown. Go. Don't you look back. Kael's roar tore through the dead quiet. Joren's eyes blazed red, blood, salt in his throat. He didn't dare stop, didn't dare glance. He just ran, a madman crashing through the dark. Boom, boom, boom. 3 auras detonated in answer. Nero Ya and the other two stopped holding back. Their cultivation flared, peaking in a heartbeat. A gale howled up from the earth, flinging shattered stone. A mountain of spiritual pressure crashed down, and Kael's robes snapped and cracked in the gale. But Kael's own aura kept climbing. A film of blood, light shimmered into being across his skin, thickening fast, as if countless crimson threads were worming their way out of his very pores. Blood spirit art. A needle of pure danger stabbed at the base of Nero Ya's skull. The next instant, the blood-drenched silhouette simply vanished from where it stood. Kael's target was Brand. Only by seizing that one life could he make these 3 wolves think twice before lunging. Your Highness. His scalp prickled. Nero Ya launched himself backward in a frantic retreat. The ground cratered a yard deep beneath his feet as he wrenched his waist in midair and lunged toward Brand. He was closer. Just as the sword edge was about to land, Nero Ya's palm slapped against Brand's shoulder. The joint popped, crisp and sharp. Brand was knocked aside half a foot. Still, half a beat, too slow. 9 streaks of blood, red Prime Arrival Sword Canon tore through the air with a shriek that clawed at the eardrums. Light bent in distorted arcs where they passed, like 9 writhing serpents of gore. Squelch, squelch. 2 of the sword Kai punched clean through Brand's chest and carried out chunks of shredded flesh that slapped wetly to the ground with his heartbeat. Through the gaping hole, pale white ribs flickered into view. Brand stared down at the fist-sized ruin in his chest. Bloody froth bubbled up from his throat. Nero Ya's eyes flared red. He spun and slammed a palm square into Kael's chest. Kael's internal energy stalled. The blow launched him backward. tumbling through the rotted trunk of a dead tree before his momentum died. Blood leaked from the corner of his mouth. Chase Joren. Brand forced himself upright, his voice a scrape of gravel between clenched teeth. Take him alive, he's carrying an earth, tier technique. I'll peel it out of him bone by bone. Ember and Caelan traded a look, greed flickered through their stares, and they braced to spring. Fatty. Kael spat a mouthful of clotted blood, his gaze gouging into He Zheng nearby. Stop hiding in your shell, wall those two off. He Zheng's face flushed a liverish purple. A heartbeat later, he ground his back teeth and snarled. All in. Golden light detonated from deep inside him, layer upon layer, encasing him like a bronze bell. His features vanished behind the blaze. Ember's brow creased. She tested the barrier with a palm strike. Wang! A metallic, bell-deep clang rolled through the air. The golden light shuddered twice and held. You stop him. The moment Caelan registered that He Zheng had no teeth to bite with, relief washed through him. He spun to chase Joren. He Zheng whirled, the golden light thickening another layer. Blood spilled from his mouth, but his grin was a savage slash of red. Chase, nope, you've got to flatten, Pang Yi first. His entire body blurred into a streak of golden afterimages, arms flung wide as he plowed into Caelan with bone, crunching force. Kael leveled his longsword, the blood crimson on the blade reignited. He threw himself straight at Nero Ya. Behind him. Boom, boom. Ember would never waste an opening like this, palm after palm chopped down, fierce energy wreathed around her hands, pounding He Zheng's fat flesh into quaking waves. Mother, He Zheng howled, raw agony tearing the oath loose. Hurry the hell up. Pang Yi's not gonna last much longer. Not far off, Kael and Nero Ya had already dissolved into a blur of butchery. Blade and bare palm clashed without pause, spraying sparks like hammered steel, throwing flashes of light across two equally savage faces. The blood spirit art's crazed overdraft had split the skin on Kael's arms inch by inch. With every swing, wisps of blood mist steamed from the fissures, and the air thickened with the stinging reek of iron. He traded wound for wound, life for life, his assault spiraling into frenzy. As the fight dragged on, a cold alarm coiled in Nero Ya's chest. In mere moments, Kael's riven blade had already shattered two of his low-grade spirit artifacts. Pressed into a retreat he could not stop, Nero Ya let out a frustrated, guttural roar. The madness in Kael's eyes looked ready to spill over. A cleaving chisel, deep agony ripped through his body, the price of ripping into his own cultivation foundation, but he no longer cared. Kill Nero Ya. End this, fast. Nothing else mattered. At the edge of the field, Brand watched, his heart scorched with anxiety. If Joren truly slipped away, Brand could not shoulder the consequences. He gritted his teeth and cranked his head around, snarling, Nero Liat, I only go after him. Take him alive if you can, and if not, kill him. Understood. Excitement lit Nero Liat's face. Rest easy, cousin. He's badly wounded. With my martial sister's help, we'll bag him for certain. Ione said nothing, but she didn't refuse either. Kael's voice, ablaze with a towering fury, crashed over them. Ione. If you dare lay a single finger on him, I swear it. If I walk away from this alive, I'll slaughter every last soul of your Liu family. The color bled from Ione's face. Nero Liat sneered. Martial sister, it's nothing but the death rattle of a dead man walking. Let's go. Their silhouettes flickered and melted into the distance. Damn it. A film of blood mist submerged Kael's eyes in an instant. Kill Nero Ya, kill Brand, kill Ione, kill every last one of them here. Only their deaths could keep Folly breathing. You, every single one of you, deserves to die. The words fell, and everyone present, even He Zheng, felt a bone, deep chill claw up their spines. Inside his consciousness space, the shade imprisoned in Sword Bastille sensed that dense, seething, killing intent and screamed, its voice twisted with shock. At that same moment, the suspended Prime Arrival Sword Canon Golden Tome erupted with sudden, violent strangeness. The scripture passages beyond the general outline, murky until now, snapped into brilliant clarity, trembled, and dissolved into flecks of gold light that sank deep into his consky. Ausness, beside the scripture, two large characters blazing with golden light, flared and vanished in a single flash. Zord of Slaying. At that very moment, at the edge of Wildwood, a gaunt old man tottered forward, gripping a battered, balding broom in one hand. The demonic beasts along his path scattered as though they'd glimpsed a natural predator, tucking their tails and retreating long before he drew near. He bared a gap-toothed grin, and a strange gleam flickered through his murky eyes. Well now, this is a bit interesting. His steps shifted, and he headed straight for Valor Hall trial grounds. Inside the trial grounds, Nero Ya's instincts screamed. The Kael in front of him looked like a different creature. The onslaught had frozen mid-strike. Kael just stood there, eyes mostly swallowed by thread-like tendrils of blood mist, the exposed pupils utterly void of emotion, cold and bottomless as twin pools. One look at those eyes, and Nero Ya felt as though he'd been dumped into an ice cellar. His movements ceased for an instant. Not far away, Brand was hit even harder, shivering uncontrollably as he shrieked, "Instructor Yuhua, kill him now." Nero Ya's mind jolted back. As terrifying as Kael had become, the attack had inexplicably stopped. Kael was utterly motionless. Bang! Nero Ya flipped his palms and slammed the remnants of his strength into Kael's chest. The strike landed, and a savage, surging elation flooded him. He followed with palm after palm, raining blows down like a torrent. Kael's aura withered rapidly, steeply, yet he stood there woodenly, offering not the slightest resistance. Holy crap! In the distance, He Zheng, tangled in a desperate life, and death mess with Ember and Caelan, panicked. "No, you bastard, move. Move, goddamn you." Watching Kael remain utterly unresponsive, He Zheng heaved up a mouthful of blood. The golden light around his body dimmed at alarming speed. "It's over, it's all over. You bastard, you've doomed your Pangyi." His howl curdled into despair, and then his eyes bulged wide. His bloated body catapulted backward. The golden light condensed in a heartbeat, snapping into a nearly solid, dazzling suit of armor. He Zheng wrapped Caelan in a crushing embrace. Crack! The muffled snap of ribs broke inside Caelan's chest. He Zheng's teeth ground together, and a spray of bloody spittle burst from his lips. "You, let go." Caelan choked, the pressure nearly smothering him. "Like hell I will." He Zheng's eyes burned blood. "Red, even if Pangyi dies, I'm dragging you down first." Shock and fury warped Ember's face. She drove palm strike after palm strike madly into He Zheng's back, tearing skin and flesh wide open. His whole body shuddered violently, and a hoarse, vicious oath ripped from his throat. "I can't hold on." In the distance, Nero Ya watched Kael teetering and shouted, his voice sharp with manic glee. "Don't let him slip away. This little brute's about to drop." Even as he roared, he forced the dregs of his Danshan's cultivation to the surface. His right palm clenched empty air, and a spiraling cone of spiritual force condensed rapidly in his grip. The air around him hummed, the ground beneath his feet cratering into a spreading web of fine cracks. He was about to deliver the killing blow. And that was when Kael moved. A rasping voice whispered 2 words, "Slay, sword." The sound clawed up from the bottom of a dry well, yet it carried a thread of bone-chilling enlightenment. Awake now, Nero Ya's grin was a hideous slash. His twin palms already swept toward Kael's face, carrying a wet stench of blood. "Doesn't matter a damn. You're still dead." Wrong. Kael's eyes snapped up. A single glance plunged Nero Ya into an icy abyss, his body locked rigid. "Slay." An icy, cold sword hum sliced the air. Red light flickered silent across Nero Ya's throat. The cut stayed sealed for half a heartbeat, then burst open. His vision cartwheeled, sky and earth swapping places. He caught Brand's horrified face, Ember's mouth stretching in a furious roar, and then his own headless body, still frozen in its strike pose, blood mist spurting from the stump. Thud! His head hit the ground. Kael coughed out a spray of blood. His body was wrecked, but the flame in his eyes, that last scrap of enlightenment, burned bright. The sword of slaying, killing intent as the thread, the heart as its master, once drawn, its power had no rival. "You, bastard." He Zheng's curse ripped through the dead silence. "Since you're awake, help me. Pangyi can't hold out. You trying to get him killed." Kael jolted. He took one step and nearly pitched face. First, the backlash of the blood spirit art was eating him alive. Time ran thin. "Hold on." He clamped his jaw, fingers shaking as they closed on his longsword. His spiritual sense locked onto Caelan. Strength had fled, but killing intent hadn't dimmed a speck. Caelan froze, a chill shot from his tailbone to his skull. "Ember, help!" Caelan screamed. Ember knew the stakes. His palm energy pounded He Zheng like a storm. He Zheng's eyes rolled white, a dying gasp squeezing out. "Can't hold on." "He Zheng." Kael's form blurred as he lunged. His knees buckled. The sword tip dragged across the ground, shrieking, spraying sparks through dead leaves. In the next breath, an upward slash faster than thunder passed silent across Caelan's throat. Caelan didn't even blink. A thin red line, like a centipede, split his brow. He crashed down rigid, silent. "Damn you." Ember trembled with rage, teeth grinding to powder. "I'll kill you." Boom! A palm of towering fury slammed into Kael's chest. The Kai blast snapped every tree for dozens of meters, a chaos of splinters. Kael's ribcage caved, a palm print sinking deep as his body was hurled back. Midair, the blood spirit art backlash hit full force. His hair drained from black to white, skin drying and cracking like a wilting flower before he smashed to the ground. Victory! Ember's face split with savage glee. He advanced step by step. Can't die. Kael's eyes blanked, cracked lips trembling. Folly's illness, not yet cured. How can I die? He fought, somehow rising on shaking legs. That ruined husk of flesh still stood, driven into the earth like a spike. Don't want to die, Ember sneered, then die anyway. He raised his right palm, then jolted to a stop, a pair of mangled blood-soaked hands locked around his legs. He Zheng crawling who knows when, the faint gold light on him, now thin as a dying candle flame, his fat face twisted into a fierce mask. Last chance. We don't take him down, we both die. Damn He Zheng. Ember's fury twisted into laughter. A single kick sent He Zheng flying. Midair, the golden light snuffed out. He Zheng slammed into the distance, silent. Ember turned back. Kael still advanced with tottering steps, body shattered beyond repair, no threat left. Relief flooded Ember. He leaned close to that desiccated face, raising his right palm. Young man, remember this next life. Don't be so arrogant. Kael smiled, a dry, cold smile. You are too close. What? Ember froze, not even a foot apart. Soul, seizure. Kael's eyelids dropped. When they opened, his eyes had become two abyssal pits of shadow. A keening glint exploded from his pupils, stabbing into Ember's eye sockets, his consciousness dragged into boundless black, body going rigid like a cut puppet, white foam oozing from the corner of his mouth. Instructor Ember, Brand's howl tore across the wasteland, eyes bloodshot. You, kill him already, cough, why? Kael ignored it, laboriously lifting his longsword. His body crippled, cultivation near spent, but his soul force still surged like a flood. I told you, he shook his head, sword tip pressing against Ember's forehead. You were too close. Abyssal light flashed. The blade punched through, clean through the forehead. On that razor edge between life and death, raw instinct yanked Ember back, but too late. That strike was pure killing intent, stripped of all complexity. Only tyrannical finality. Thump. Ember's head hit the ground, the last trace of regret in his sightless eyes. Kael could hold on no longer. He dropped to one knee, leaning on his sword to keep from collapsing. He Zheng, he rasped. Kael sucked in a ragged breath. Stop playing dead, get up. In the distance, He Zheng lay stiff as a board, not a twitch in sight. Get up. Kael was truly infuriated. Cough, he's dead already. Dead. He Zheng bared his teeth and sat up. Dead is good. How'd you see through it? This Lord Pang didn't show a single crack, did he? Bull, Kael gave a cold laugh. With your gutless, life-grasping nature, you'd throw down your life that easily. Willing or not, I still did, didn't I? He Zheng had no shame whatsoever. Dead is good, it's finally over. No, Kael staggered back upright. There's still one more. Brand's face was the color of death. Right, He Zheng ground his teeth. That Brand is utter filth. He can't be spared. Kael advanced step by step. Terror swamped Brand's heart. You intend to kill me. Kael's expression was blank, correct. You can't. Finished. Kael was already before him, blade lifting, on your way. Brand's pupils constricted, pleas for mercy jammed in his throat, the cold of death piercing his forehead before the blade did, a single drop of crimson beading. Next life, then, if there is one. Slice. The sword slashed through empty air. Before the tip landed, fierce, killing intent had already split the skin, blood trailing down his nose. Kael was about to drive it home when a faint cough reached his ears. His expression shifted, and his strike doubled in urgency. A breeze kicked up, an afterimage flickering past, the sword edge slamming viciously into the ground. Dark earth ruptured, a trench several meters long carving open, yet the blade bore not a trace of blood. Brand had vanished, only a faint reek of blood lingering in the air. Thud! Kael finally gave out, crashing to the earth. The blood spirit art backlash roared like wildfire, the already withered flesh beneath his robes collapsing inward in great swaths, his bones groaning under intolerable strain, as though they might splinter apart at any second. Agony carved to the marrow rendered him utterly immobile. Where'd he? He Zheng gaped. Gone. Gone, Kael panted, that person's strength. Even at our peak, we'd never have matched him. He only took Brand, spared our lives, count ourselves lucky. He Zheng was unwilling, but could only slump back down, frantically stuffing elixirs into his mouth. All these years, Lord Pang doesn't even remember the last time he risked his life like this. Your risking life was playing dead, not the same. What the hell do you know? He Zheng was about to boast, but Kael ignored him entirely. Silence fell between them. A name surfaced simultaneously in both minds. Joren. Joren was badly wounded. He pushed his speed to the limit, yet was still cornered mid. Journey by Nero Liat and Ione. Joren, your highness, we meet again. Nero Liat's smug grin was venomous. Walking into death yourself. Blame no one but yourself. Joren remained silent. Death didn't scare him, failing Kael's trust. That scourged him like a blade. So be it. A sigh curdled inside him as his remaining cultivation flared, ready to stake everything. Greed ignited in Nero Liat's eyes. The cultivation art you practice is indeed extraordinary. Junior sister, let's attack together and share the method, HM. What's wrong with you? Ione snapped back to awareness. Nothing. Kael's words kept knifing through her thoughts, icy, relentless. Joren's bitter laugh rang out. If brothers Kael survive today, you will pay blood for blood. That threat struck her mind like a thunderbolt. If he doesn't die, there's no path left for me. Her silver teeth gritted fiercely, a mad decision hardening in her heart. Arrogant fool, Nero Liat, oblivious to Ione's expression, advanced on Joren with a cruel grin. In a moment, you'll witness with your own eyes exactly how Kael shunk. A sword tip burst from his chest, blood dripping soundlessly along the blade's spine. Nero Liat gazed down in disbelief at that familiar sword body, the triumph in his eyes slowly draining into bone, deep bewilderment. He turned his head with immense difficulty. Junior sister, why? Ione's delicate, cold features showed not a ripple of emotion, only a calm bordering on cruelty. I won't gamble again. Her voice dropped like shards of ice. Kael's life is just too tenacious. I'm done waiting, so please just die. Spiritual energy erupted in a thunderous blast, snuffing out every trace of life in a heartbeat. Nero Liat collapsed, his eyes frozen wide, still dazed with confusion and disbelief. Joren stood rooted, cold dread coiling through his chest. Your Highness Joren. Ione's voice had turned terrifying in its calm. You can go now. Joren stared at her a moment longer, then without a word, channeled his movement arts and vanished into the distance. Ione just stood there, numb, then she picked an unfamiliar direction and launched herself away. Her resolve hardened like iron. Wherever Kael walked in this life, she would never step. Only Nero Liat's unblinking corpse stayed behind in the clearing. Even in death, he couldn't grasp why all his fawning devotion hadn't bought him a single merciful thought. Under the ancient tree, Brand, still shaking to his core, stared at the figure with its back to him. The hunched silhouette looked frail as paper, clutching a nearly bald broom. With every step, the grass and trees around it seemed to stiffen a little more. Dust hung suspended from the broom, refusing to fall. The intangible pressure field squeezed Brand's chest until he could barely breathe. Struggling, he cupped his fists in salute. This life-saving grace, I'll carve it into my bones forever. The old man chuckled, the sound like wind wheezing through rotted wood. Little one, know your limits. That lad is not someone you can measure yourself against. A pause. Your ambitions burn too high, too fierce, but you lack the skill to match them. That's your real tragedy. Senior. Brand's eyes flared red. I still have a hidden trump. Kael will die today, no doubt about it. Enough. The old man waved a hand and slowly turned. A face etched with wrinkles like dried, cracked bark emerged from the dim light. You said you'd repay me. His gaze was turbid, but it fixed on Brand and sent ice through his veins. Was that true? Yes. Brand's heart hammered, a hidden recluse, a comic windfall. Whatever Senior wants, if I have it, I'll give it without question. You said so yourself. The old man smiled, kind and gentle. And then that smile split wide, like a cold draft seeping up from a desiccated well. You little wretch. His voice dropped, burrowing up from the earth. Years ago, you incited Seren to move secretly against that poor girl. She died not long after giving birth. You were only 5 years old then. Seren, Lord of the Grand Kai, Brand's own father. You? Brand's face drained ash white. How do you know that? Who the hell are you? Fewer than 5 people in the whole world knew of this. Who I am doesn't matter. The old man shook his head. At such a tender age, your heart was already that vicious, your capacity so paltry. Complete waste of such bloodline power. He stepped forward. A desiccated, gaunt palm patted Brand's shoulder with feather lightness. Brand's entire body locked rigid bones, frozen in ice, unable to move a single muscle. How about? The old man's voice pressed right against his ear. You just give it to me. Why? Brand's pupils contracted violently. Don't be nervous. The old man's expression brimmed with concern. You and I share the same root, same origin. I won't let you suffer much. Bear it a moment, and it'll pass. Who are you? A scream tore through the silence. Threads of crimson blood mist began peeling from Bran's 7 orifices, strand by strand. Then his pores seemed pierced by countless invisible needles. Pure, concentrated scarlet vapor gushed out, twisting in the air like crazed serpents. It surged madly into the old man's mouth and nostrils. Excellent. The old man's voice quivered with intoxication. Youth, what a fine thing it is. Bran's tall, robust frame withered at a speed the eye could track. His skin lost luster inch by inch, shriveling inward like leather sucked dry and stretched over bone. His hair faded from jet, black to ashen gray in a blink, then crumbled into brittle silver strands that fluttered down in clumps. His eye sockets sank into black hollows, the light inside snuffed out like a candle. And the old man. No, that shriveled tiny body swelled outward like an inflating balloon, loose, aged hide stretched taut and flushed with rosy vitality. His white hair darkened root to tip ink black, essence light exploded in his eyes, 2 ignited willow, the wisps. The breath of life surged within him, raged and roared like a tidal wave. A short while later, he released his grip. Brand collapsed like a heap of dry kindling. You? Staring at that face, so faintly like his own, Brand's throat rattled. You art old. His words died unfinished, his life force utterly spent. The old man rose slowly. Only now he was a slightly portly middle-aged man, skin full, black hair cascading past his shoulders. He looked down at his own hands, feeling the vigorous life that hadn't surged in decades. His eyes gleamed sharp as lightning. I, Nero's junks, have returned. Outside the trial grounds, the instructors guarded their posts. No one spoke. The pressure weighed down like a blanket. In past years, they'd argue, theorize, even trade blows bustling and noisy as a boiling pot. But this year, because of Kael, all debate had turned pointless. Hezron wasn't worth mentioning, and even Brand couldn't hold on for long. Arguing over first place was a joke. Silence was their only companion now. Occasionally, they'd glance at Mael pacing back and forth, silently cursing had this Bane star really stumbled onto heaven, defying luck. Mael himself had no room for joy. Sighed. His 27th sigh, the toe of his boot crushed a dried twig into the dirt. Just please don't do anything reckless. Nero, are you two really able to handle him? In the distance, Caelan shot to his feet. His cultivation was the highest among them. At the peak of spirit, profound 9 realms, his perception stretched out like a web and caught the anomaly first. At the trial grounds barrier exit, a figure stumbled out, trying to flee, too far to make out the face, but the gait was unmistakable, a spent force on its last gasp. Damn, Caelan's heart chilled, something's happened. Instantly, every instructor shot up, faces grave. Mael's heart fluttered, the words slipping out. What's wrong? Don't tell me the demonic beasts are rioting again. The air froze, everyone's gaze pinned him like blades. Mael swallowed. I was just joking. Before he could finish, his expression twisted. The earth beneath his feet began trembling softly. Leaves shuddered down from the branches in showers. It's nothing, must be some other commotion. How could it be this coincidental? The mutual reassurance cut short as bestial roars erupted from the wildwood's deepest reaches. Roarer, roarer. The roars layered over each other, rattling their souls, making them sway. A rank, musky beast, feeder rolled in on the wind from deep forest, thick as something you could touch, crushing down on their chests. That was it, ice filled their hearts. The demonic beasts were truly rioting. Mael, you jinxed us. If you can't speak sense, shut your mouth. We should have left this Bane star back at the compound. Mael's face was pure innocence and grievance, since when had his mouth turned this lethal? Cease your noise. Caelan's brows furrowed deep, his gaze locked onto the staggering figure. It's Joren. Joren, His Highness Joren. Mael's face paled as he flew forward to meet him. How did you get so badly wounded? Where are those two? Instructor Mael. Joren was at the end of his rope, breath leaking out, his whole body pitching forward. Hurry! Nero, that bastard Nero, and eldest brother Zheng are going to kill brother Kael. We have to save them. Mael's face went bloodless. Caelan's expression darkened in an instant, outrageous, brazen to the extreme right under the 3 vice, Dean's noses. Instructor Caelan, Joren's face twisted with bitterness. It's no use. They used some method to lure the vice, Dean's away. Another instructor's voice cracked. The instructors aren't here, then the beast riot. What do we do? A grim weight settled over everyone. With Redel Wug absent, Caelan was the strongest fighter present. The situation had flipped dire in a heartbeat. Move, get inside now. We pull them out before the beasts arrive. The trial.
To hell with the trial, not at a time like this.
They steadied their nerves and reached a resolution fast.
Instructor Caelan, Joren seized Caelan's sleeve in a death grip. Please, intervene, save Brother Kael and the others. If we delay, it's too late. Instructor Caelan.
Mael's eyes had gone bloodshot. Deep down, he knew his own strength was insufficient. Even if he went, he couldn't guarantee their safety.
Caelan was different, 9th tier of the Spirit Profound Realm. With Reddelwug and the others gone, he stood as the foremost expert in all of Valorhall.
Fine.
No hesitation, his gaze swept the group, an iron edge behind it. I'll get those two first. The Beast Riot, you all organize the evacuation. I'll be right behind you. His eyes frosted over. Nero, you dare openly trample Valorhall's rules. I will not let this slide.
The words had barely left his lips when he hoisted Mael and Joren, his form dissolving into a streak of light, shooting toward the battlefield deep within the trial grounds. Kael and He Zheng lay sprawled on their backs, chests pumping, neither speaking. A long, raw breath, and He Zheng's voice scraped out, tinged with blood.
Forget it, we're alive. That's enough. Kael's response came utterly flat. As long as we're alive, there's a chance for revenge.
He Zheng choked. If my eyes weren't playing tricks, that technique you just used, it burns your lifespan and potential, doesn't it?
Blood spirit art, Kael offered no concealment. Flesh and blood essence as a catalyst, doubles combat power for half an incense, sticks time.
He Zheng's throat bobbed, voice plunging. You're already ruined. I know. Kael's face stayed blank. This isn't the first time.
Inside Kael, his meridians were parched, like dry riverbeds. His flesh had lost all give. Deep in his dantian, a cascade of fine, crackling detonations echoed, like bones splintering, his foundation destroyed. His cultivation path severed inch by inch. Only his eyes remained sharp as swords, sunken in blood and grime, their cold gleam undimmed. He Zheng wrenched himself upright, the motion forcing another mouthful of bloody froth from his lips.
And you're still thinking about revenge, with what?
My sword. Your sword? He Zheng's gaze shrank. He remembered that single strike, killing intent born from nothingness, cutting into nothingness. Even with his confidence, he wasn't sure he could have blocked it. What's it called? Sword of slaying?
He Zheng's eyes lit. Teach it to Pang Yi, won't you?
Can't be taught, and you couldn't learn it anyway.
Bullshit. He Zheng raged. Pang Yi's talent is peerless.
That sword strike, Kael cut in, voice flat, embraces death to beget life. Can you do that?
He Zheng deflated. He couldn't. The blood spirit art, I can teach you that, Kael said.
Don't. He Zheng's face twisted in alarm. That heretical nonsense harms the enemy 1,000, injures yourself 800. What would Pang Yi learn that for?
Before the words fully landed, He Zheng's face contorted sharply. The ground was trembling. Both of them froze. He Zheng's voice cracked, teetering on tears. No way. You've got to be kidding me.
In the distance, a beast roar tore through the dense forest. Then another and another, erupting in overlapping waves. The earth quaked like a drumhead. Dead leaves and pebbles danced and jumped.
Kael exhaled. He Zheng. Looks like the two of us are in for a world of trouble.
Impossible. He Zheng was fully panicked now. The beast riot just happened last month.
He caught himself, exchanging a glance with Kael, Mael.
He Zheng pounded the ground in bitter anguish, tailed by that jinx dung. Stepping, ambushes, and now a riot. It's over. Completely over. A savage, violent howl exploded nearby, a gust of putrid wind blasting their faces. No way. He Zheng bounced up, the rims of his eyes crimson. Pang Yi has to live. A dim golden light encased his body again, thin as a cicada's wing and riddled with cracks. The instant he forced his true Kai to circulate, he vomited a huge mouthful of blood.
The blood splattered onto dead leaves, a string of heavy, muffled thuds hammering the earth. Instinct smashed through all pain.
He exploded with inhuman speed, sprinting away while coughing up blood, vanishing into the depths of the dense forest in the blink of an eye. You damn fatty, Kael's curses erupted. Get the hell back here. I've never seen anyone so shameless.
Brother Goo.
He Zheng had doubled back, his hide so thick that even under Kael's blistering scolding, his face could only muster a sheepish look. You misunderstand. I really came back to save you.
Save your grandpa. Kael's fury boiled. Piss off now.
Can't piss off anymore. He Zheng glanced pitifully behind him, throat bobbing. They're chasing way too close.
No sooner had he spoken than a third. Tier spirit beast directly ahead roared and lunged at them.
Brother Gu, He Zheng seized Kael's arm in a vise grip. Rest assured, with Pangyi here, those beasts can forget about touching a single hair on your head. Even as he spoke, that layer of golden light on He Zheng flared again, its radiance like the guttering flame of a candle wick whose oil had run dry. Each forceful effort brought the sound of blood hacking up from compressed lungs and organs. Spitting a mist of blood, he dragged Kael as they crashed deeper into the forest. Kael's voice dripped skepticism. You'd really be that kind-hearted. Aren't you just harboring some foul scheme, planning to use me as a meat shield? Absolutely not. He Zheng's expression stiffened for a split second. Brother Gu, don't measure the heart of a gentleman with the mind of a petty man. So you were planning to do exactly that. Don't talk anymore. The golden light on He Zheng faded again, his steps turning unsteady as if treading on cotton wadding. Pangyi can't hold on much longer. Turn back. Kael couldn't spare the energy to curse him further. Why the hell are you running deeper inside? Head outside, Instructor May and the others. He cut himself off. With Mail out there, outside was even more dangerous than inside. You get it now, huh? He Zheng gasped for breath. Right now, the farther we are from Mail, the safer. Cough. Stop talking. Let Pangyi catch a breath. Kael and He Zheng had not been gone long. Mail and Joren crashed into the blood-soaked battlefield in a sorry state. Behind them, the stampede of demon beasts thundered on without pause, dust-churning sky, high until it blotted out the sun. The ground shuddered, stones leaping like drumheads under the relentless trampling. Joren went pale at the sight of Nero Yuz's corpse and the others. They're dead. Who killed them? Where's Brother Gu? Who else? Mail let out a long breath. His gaze swept the wounds on the bodies, wounds no demon beast could make, and a storm rose in his eyes. 3 Vice, Dean's missing, the rest of the instructors away. The only ones who could have made a move are those 2. Remarkable, truly remarkable. He couldn't hold back the awe. All 3 had strength far above his own. Together, even Caelan would have had slim odds, let alone turning the tables for a kill. Yet Kael and He Zheng, mere meridian-opening cultivators, had crossed 2 great realms to slay 3 spirit-profound experts in return. Monsters! A battle record like that. No one would believe it even if you told them. So they are alive, Joren's face lit with wild joy. Undoubtedly. Then let's find them now. Find them where? Mail gave a bitter laugh. The wildwood is vast. In ordinary times, maybe, but now. He pointed at the beast horde closing in behind them. Your Highness, we've got to flee for our lives too. Joren's throat tightened. Mail was, true to form, a magnet for disaster. A short stretch of road had drawn 7 or 8 demon beasts, and among them loomed a towering 6th, rank creature, shattering trees with every stride. Mail sighed again. The 3 Vice, Deans, who knows where they've vanished to. If this goes on, Valor Hall is finished. Mail burned with desperation. Yet at that very moment, the 2 honored enforcers, Wu and Feng, were 10 times more desperate than he was. Deep within the wildwood, Reddelwug sensed that faint, elusive trace of demonic Kai ahead, and his face hardened like sunken water. It's him again. Master Feng sighed heavily. This man chose the worst possible moment to go mad. Not earlier, not later. Commander Zhu's brow furrowed deep. I sense he's even stronger than before. Turn back. Reddelwug swept his sleeve, his voice snapping like iron. The azure lotus fruit. Abandoned, without us there to keep watch, the chaos back there is already beyond imagining. True, Master Feng nodded. In this matter, we can't escape the blame. Regret twisted in their guts, regret for letting greed rise, regret for being tempted by Commander Zhu. Even if they returned too late, they still wanted to preserve Valor Hall's last shred of hope. No time to lose, we move at once. Just as they prepared to retreat, disaster struck. A roar, tangled with agony and madness, tore through heaven and earth. The hidden demonic Kai surged, exploding several times stronger than before. Their faces drained of color. He's heading this way. Go! 3 streaks of light shot through the sky, vanishing into the distance. Moments later, a figure like a maddened demon descended, wreathed in a tidal wave of demonic Kai. Kill? Sensing the lingering auras of the 3, his frenzy ignited completely. Kill? Boom! A boundless torrent of demonic Kai burst from his body, black as ink poured across the heavens. Grass and trees withered on contact, crumbling inch by inch into ash drifting on the wind. 1,000 yards in every direction became a dead, ruined wasteland. With his target gone, his savagery only deepened. The demonic Kai surged like a black flood, swallowing the entire region. Several demon beasts, too slow to flee, were swept into it. Their mournful cries cut off abrupt, absolute. Flesh and blood drained away, every drop of vital essence siphoned clean. Skin-wrapped skeletons thudded soundlessly to the ground. The air grew thick, with the cloying scent of iron and sweet rot. A demon beast's howl ripped through the air right behind them. He Zheng's face turned ashen. It's over.
He was at the very end of his strength, running slower with every step. His chest heaved like a broken bellows. The golden light protecting his body had faded to a flicker, barely visible.
I don't wanna die.
Amid his wailing, He Zheng shot a strange glance at Kael.
He Zheng, Kael's expression shifted sharply. What are you planning? Don't try anything twisted. Even if you use me as bait, you still won't escape. He Zheng's face twitched with embarrassment. You misunderstand. This pang, you was just checking if you were all right.
Kael ground his teeth. First chance I get, I'm beating him senseless.
He Zheng stared at the beasts closing in. He couldn't bring himself to stoop that low. And now, I'm going to die. He Zheng, Kael suddenly called out. Up ahead, a cave. Quick, hide in there.
Where? He Zheng's spirit flared. His small eyes darted around and instantly locked onto an unremarkable crevice in the stone ahead. The crevice was slick with moisture, clumped with bone, chilling moss. Inside, a narrow cave entrance loomed, barely visible, just wide enough for one person to squeeze through sideways.
Hide, now.
He Zheng was overjoyed. The golden light around him, about to sputter out entirely, blazed fiercely once more.
Kael had long stopped being surprised.
The moment He Zheng heard the word live, his hidden potential knew no bounds.
Whoosh! With a full force burst, in the span of a few breaths, He Zheng dragged Kael through the stone crevice and into the cave.
Rumble! The earth shook behind them. The beast horde thundered past, missing them by a hair. Outside, chaos roared.
Inside the cave, a deep, profound silence reigned.
The instant they broke through into the darkness, their eardrums buzzed from the sudden stillness. For now, He Zheng let out an enormous sigh of relief. We're safe.
He Zheng, Kael's gaze sharpened to a blade's edge. Go further in. He Zheng blinked, then seemed to sense something. His expression turned unreadable. This is fate crossing our path again. With that, he grabbed Kael and strode toward the depths of the cave.
Inside, a blood-streaked, battered figure rose shakily to her feet.
Goo, Kael. Her voice was still captivating, but the cold clarity was gone, replaced by a trembling she couldn't quite suppress.
You really aren't dead.
Kael laughed,
but the laughter was thick with murderous intent.
Slowly, he raised his longsword. He advanced.
Remember what I said earlier. His sword hand shook violently, yet the killing intent in his eyes only grew sharper.
Aye, Oni. He Zheng wore an amiable smile, but his eyes held no warmth at all. Miss, we meet again.
Ione, Kael's voice was ice. I gave you a chance, everything before. I could let it go, but to lay hands on Brother Joren, that is my bottom line. With every word, his killing intent thickened. His cultivation was nearly drained, his body utterly broken, yet that intent alone sent a chill down He Zheng's back.
Ione faced it head on, her body locked up. She couldn't even move a finger, let alone circulate her cultivation.
Goo, Kael. Her voice trembled more violently. I didn't kill him.
What did you say? Kael froze, the killing intent receded slightly.
It's true. Ione gasped for air. I let him go and...
She seized the opening, words spilling out so fast that He Zheng sucked in a sharp breath.
I don't believe you. Kael ignored He Zheng, his tone cold and hard. Ione, no one knows you better than I do. I don't believe a single word you say. Ione's gaze dimmed, so, in your heart, that's all I am. A selfish, ruthless, venomous viper.
What? Kael shot back. You're not. He Zheng sensed something off and grinned. Childhood sweethearts, love and murder. Melodramatic enough to drown in.
Shut up!
Kael nearly lashed out with his sword.
Ione drew a deep breath. Kael, if you let me go, I can tell you something. It concerns whether you'll live or die.
Speak, He Zheng bristled first.
The ones coming to kill you aren't just Nero, Ya, and the others.
Someone else. Kael's eyes narrowed. Who?
Ione shook her head. That person. It seems, Instructor, you contacted him in secret. The first prince said that with him here, this ambush would be flawless.
The moment the three vice deans leave, that man will rush over from the imperial capital to ensure.
No slip-ups.
Joren.
Kael and He Zheng exchanged a glance, the name bursting from their lips.
Silence reclaimed the cave.
Kael slowly lowered his longsword and closed in on Ione. You, Ione, panicked. What are you doing?
Brother Goo, He Zheng's eyes bulged. In broad daylight, how can you commit such a beastly act? Kael ignored him.
Ione. He was now impossibly close enough to catch the flicker of panic in her eyes, and the faintest, almost imperceptible flush of shame.
Lift your head. His voice dipped low.
Look at me. Ione instinctively raised her chin, meeting Kael's eyes. In that instant, a ring of ghostly light surged within Kael's pupils. It swirled like a vortex in a bottomless pool, silent and spiraling. Formless spiritual force shot out like icy tendrils, piercing straight into Ione's consciousness. Her body stiffened. Her lashes quivered, her gaze slipped from alarm to emptiness. Her lips moved soundlessly, her warm breath steadied. Her entire being became a marionette. Was what you just said true? Kael asked.
Yes,
Ione answered mechanically.
And brother Joren.
I set him free. Kael let out a long, relieved breath, his heart finally at ease.
Brother Joren truly has a charmed life. He Zheng beamed, suddenly leaning in. You'll it'll lug, tell your lord Pang the truth. Do you have feelings for my brother Gu?
A flicker of struggle surfaced in Ione's vacant eyes. Expressionless, Kael instantly dispelled the spirit enthrallment art.
He Zheng looked thoroughly disappointed, just a hair's breadth away.
Ione jolted as if waking from a dream, not yet aware of what had happened. You can go. Kael stepped back several paces, leaning against the stone wall. His tone was light. I believe your words now.
But Ione shook her head. I'm not leaving.
What? Kael sneered. You want me to protect you now?
Not from you. Ione choked down her fury but dared not flare up. This cave is safe. I've been here half an hour, and not a single spirit beast has discovered this spot.
Both men tensed.
Outside, the roars of spirit beasts thundered unceasingly, shaking the trees until leaves rained down. Yet within the cave, dead silence reigned, as if two separate worlds existed side by side. This cave. They exchanged a look, expressions grave. Something's off.
Giggle.
Right then, a laugh crept out of nowhere, sickly sweet, soft as candied venom, coquettish to the bone. It seeped from every grain of sand in the cave walls, drilling straight into the eardrums, straight into the spiritual sense. It carried a cloying, marrow-deep sweetness that stirred an unnatural heat in the pit of the chest. The temperature inside the cave plunged.
Tiny beads of moisture condensed on the stone walls. The light warped faintly, blurring like mist.
Who's there? Kael and He Zheng felt their scalps prickle. This cave was bare rock from end to end. Where could that voice come from?
Giggle.
Come on, come closer.
The sound oozed in again, soft and eerie.
Both gritted their teeth, their spiritual senses held firm, desperately suppressing the trance pulling at them. But Ione. First she froze, then her body locked rigid, her pupils lost focus, and the corners of her mouth slowly curved into a vacant, besotted smile.
She had already lost herself.
The voice slithered like a serpent, sticky and sweet, burrowing into the ears with barbs. Ione's steps wobbled. She was the first to move forward, her limbs stiff, joints popping with harsh little clicks, a puppet tugged by invisible strings.
Veins bulged on Kael's forehead, his soul power slamming wildly inside his skull. He Zheng bit through the tip of his tongue, the copper tang of blood bursting forth.
The voice merely twisted a note. Come, big sister's waiting for you. The last syllable rose just slightly, scattering like powdered sugar. Both men's bodies seized, the light in their eyes snuffed out. Their steps turned mechanical as they fell in behind Ione. The three lined up in a row and marched into the beast, trampled forest. The earth shuddered. Bellowing titans nearly tore the falling night apart. A fourth, tier irons, bine rhino thundered past. A sixth, tier blood, pupil python skimmed low, its rancid breath slapping their faces. But the instant those raging beasts were about to collide with the trio, a flicker of bewilderment crossed the creatures' eyes. They veered aside, muscles bunching as they leapt away, carving a narrow corridor of flesh through which only the three could pass.
Beast tides roared and surged on either flank.
Not a single robe hem was disturbed. They kept walking forward. The ominous melody ahead sharpened, a hum that brushed against the ears like a lover's whisper. Behind them, the beast roars melted into a formless blur.
Their footsteps stopped. A deadland sprawled before them, ash-gray and desolate for 1,000 yards. The ground was fine as ground bone, dust pluming with every step, hanging in the air and never settling. No wind, but a cold that crawled up through cracks in the earth, sinking straight into the marrow. Around them, dead trees stood in a perfect ring, branches twisted, black like charred corpses. At the center, a scattered mess of bones barely sketched a human shape. Among the remains, a 3-inch whispering jade bone lay still. A pale, lustrous sheen coated it. A faint halo pulsed along its grain, rising and falling, so slight you could barely catch it.
The air was thick with the smell of decay, something cloying and sweet tangled with a cold, feminine musk, sickening. "Quick, come closer, let big sister get a good look at you." The voice wavered from the whispering jade bone.
All three of them lifted their feet in perfect, mindless unison.
Inside the consciousness space, Shade's fingers froze on the golden sigil, that broken, devilish call it was seeping right through. He shot upright, black fog bursting around him in violent coils.
"Wretched fool."
His voice clapped like thunder, kicking up tidal waves through the sea of consciousness.
"You dare contend with this lord for a physical vessel?"
His savage grin had only just started to spread when a thread of ghostly light flickered inside the sword bastille.
A sword intent, soundless and formless, punched straight through his chest.
"P50."
Shade crumpled with a muffled grunt. The black mist around him scattered in great, ragged swaths. His mouth opened, but only a wet, shapeless breath came out. He collapsed to the ground, limp, unable to make another sound.
Outside.
That furious roar crashed down like a bucket of ice water. Kael's body jolted, and his eyes snapped clear. His gaze darted forward, 3 zheng away, right in front of that heap of bones. He Zheng stood with a dazed, idiotic smile plastered across his round face.
He was shuffling toward the whispering jade bone, less than 2 zheng away now.
"He Zheng."
Kael gnashed his teeth and lunged, swinging his right arm back in a full arc. The slap landed square on He Zheng's thick face with a dull, muffled thump. The recoil shot up Kael's palm like a striking serpent, a tearing pain sharp enough to split the webbing between his fingers. His whole arm went numb, and before his eyes, his palm swelled red and raw. He Zheng's gaze jerked into focus. 5 angry red streaks bloomed across his skin, hot and stinging. He glared, a curse already rising in his throat, until his peripheral vision caught the whispering jade bone. The words died, strangled. A cold sweat drenched his forehead.
Kael's. On the other side, Ione had stirred awake. She'd been mere feet from the whispering jade bone moments ago.
Kael's wrist had flicked, his sword edge slicing a shallow line of blood across her arm. That sharp stab of pain dragged her back to reality.
Kael fixed his eyes on Ione, utterly devoid of warmth. "This blade stroke repays what you owe, Brother Joren. From now on, we owe each other nothing." Ione's lips trembled.
Then, instead of backing away, she lunged forward, her 5 fingers clamped down hard toward the whispering jade bone.
"Ione,
have you lost your mind?" She didn't turn back.
Kael, do you know?"
Her voice shook, thick with desperate obsession, and a bitterness deeper than any wound. "The moment I first saw you, I understood how deep your pride runs, a pride you've never once set aside before me, not even once. I hate it, I'm so jealous it drives me to madness.
More than once, I thought, one day I'll trample that pride of yours under my feet and make you look up to me." A low laugh escaped her, as if mocking herself. "But I can't do it. The instant we met again today, I knew. I can never do it, so." The instant her fingertips touched the whispering jade bone, a blaze of white light erupted. Radiant cocoons wrapped around her entire form. The fierce brilliance pierced through her skin, revealing veins where white light surged and slithered wild. Her expression flickered between ecstasy and extreme agony. From the corners of her eyes, 2 trails of bloody tears slipped down her cheeks. Fractured whispers filtered out from the luminous cocoon, carrying the resolve of a moth throwing itself into the flame. "Even in death I will not let go." The white light flared fiercely, then collapsed inward. Across from her, Ione's eyes snapped open.